What's going on, guys? Apathetic here with all your tips, recommendations, and everything in between to make sure you are set up for success in the Crucible. And today we're going to be covering how to master Top Tree Dawnblade. So I'll be sharing some tips I found useful as I've been working to master this subclass. Let's get into it. One of the best features of using Top Tree Dawnblade is the ability to Icarus Dash twice. Now, this has translated for a lot of players into them using Icarus Dash offensively, meaning they will use their Icarus Dash charges to close the gap on you. The thing you have to keep in mind with Icarus Dash is there's a whole animation taking effect, and there's going to be a brief moment after the animation where you're still waiting to ready your weapons. So I'm not going to say you can't use Icarus Dash offensively, but it's not going to be optimal. You're much better off sliding and sprinting to close a gap so that your weapons will be ready immediately. The more optimal way to use Icarus Dash is to use it defensively, and the way I've had the most success is using Icarus Dash in tandem with the jump mechanic to boost myself further distances to create more space between me and my opponent. The scenarios I often find myself using this tactic the most is actually as I'm pushing opponents. Using my radar, I'll be pushing in towards my enemy. Then as I slide out of the corner, I sometimes find myself being double teamed. And as I'm backing out, my health is already low. And this is when I use Icarus Dash almost like a panic button. I'm doing a 360 and boosting myself out of there using Icarus Dash to make my escape even quicker. Using Icarus Dash as a panic button of sorts has allowed me to have a much higher KDA in my games because I'm able to escape from situations where I would normally die. Even in the case of being chased by supers, as long as you start your getaway with enough time, most supers will give up chasing you because they will see how fast you're moving, or they will just waste their entire super chasing you. I'm talking to you, Spectral Blades. Getting into my next tip, and this one revolves around heat rises and the overall floatiness of using Top Tree. When using Top Tree, it's very easy to get caught up in the fantasy of doing damage from the sky, especially when you have something like heat rises, allowing us to have the ability to have perfect or near perfect in-air accuracy. And I'll be honest here, guys, there have been some engagements where I've actually been a victim of this. I end up floating super high, relying on my in-air accuracy from heat rises and hoping I'm going to suddenly throw them off since I'm shooting them from the sky. The thing is, for the most part, keeping your boots on the ground is still going to be the safest way to secure kills. But if you want to use heat rises more effectively, you want to use it as a way to surprise your opponent. What I mean by this is if you're mid-engagement, then you duck behind cover, consume your grenade, then jump out or float out using heat rises, you're going to lose that battle 9 times out of 10 because your enemy or enemies is already dialed in on where you are. Now, the other way you can use it that I found more success with is using it as a way to approach your enemy before they're dialed in on your location. So the second you start seeing the ping on your radar, I would consume your grenade to trigger heat rises and try to get moderately high in the air. This will allow you to get the drop on your opponents because they may either misread their radar or think you're simply on a platform above them when in reality you could be much higher. And the cool thing is this tip is actually even more effective for console players. Because of the lower field of view on console, when you're in the air, people may not even see you on their screen at all, versus PC, you might be like on the edge of their screen depending on how high you are and where they're aiming. Now, again, like I said, it's a little bit harder on PC because of that, and it will require more tact, but it's still an effective tactic. Overall, this allows us to ensure that we are getting the first shot on our opponent since they're still going to be in the middle of figuring out exactly where we are. And one more thing I would actually add for this tip is when using this subclass, I would recommend using Icarus Grip mod on every weapon you can. Icarus Grip improves our accuracy while airborne and allows us to make sure we are always going to have the most accurate shot possible in the air and makes us a little less reliant on heat rises. Final tip for running Top Tree Dawnblade is going to revolve around 2 things, and that's our super and which glide to use. I'm still 100% recommending running Burst Glide because it will still allow for the best overall movement in our neutral game and won't require heat rises to be procced to allow you to skate like Strafe Glide does. Now, as we know, Burst Glide in Dawnblade has been nerfed, and with that, we have to change how we use this super. It's nowhere near as mobile as it once was, so because of that, we need to adjust with our execution. Now, I use it one of 2 ways. I either pop it when I have multiple pings on my radar and my enemy is relatively close to me, so similar to how someone might pop Spectral Blades, and I always activate my Icarus Dash as I'm coming out of cover to avoid getting sniped. Now, the other way I've enjoyed a lot of success with this super is using it as a shutdown super, and it's very effective for this because of how high you can get in the air and how long you can float. In combination with Icarus Dash, it makes Top Tree Dawn very strong for shutting down opposing supers because they struggle with matching the height our super can reach. So while this super has lost some of its oomph with the nerf to Burst Glide, it still packs a punch. It can be very effective when used in the right situations. But let me know in the comments, how are you guys feeling about the Top Tree super? I know personally I was expecting it to move a little bit faster with Icarus Dash, and I am a little bit disappointed it's not as fast. I actually feel like Icarus Dash pre-nerf for Top Tree was actually better than it is right now, only in super obviously, but I'm just curious to get your guys' thoughts. With that, guys, thank you so much for watching. If you found these tips helpful, make sure you like, share, and subscribe as it's a free way to support me, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.
Call the Fanathonos, the Kinston Scribe, call everyone so they can witness you. That's why we have fire team. Hold strong, and this battle is yours. You gave them a drubbing. Total destruction.